So hello, everyone who is joining us. Welcome to Togetherness in the Industry, Past, Present, and Future. I am Alena Capra. I'm an interior designer, certified master kitchen and bath designer, the owner of Alena Capra Designs based in Fort Lauderdale, also the host of SoFlo Home Project. And we are joined today by some great panelists. We have David Charette and Jay Britto from Britto Charette, and Jennifer Lynn Arteaga of Jennifer Lynn Interior Design. And I figured the panelists could jump in and introduce themselves and their companies first. So Jennifer, let's start with you.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Lynn Arteaga, and my firm is based in Jupiter, Florida. So we focus on residential interior design, really taking our clients from the very beginning to the very end. So our emphasis is on major large-scale renovations and new construction homes.
Very nice. Now, David and Jay, one of you wants to jump in first, and then the other, or however you want to do it. David?
Sure, David could jump in. He likes to talk.
Well, thank you. I'm David Charette with Britto Charette, and we have Jay Britto, and we are based in Wynwood. We've opened our studio about 7 years ago here, and we specialize. Our market sector is residential, and we really go for the luxury end of the market, and we specialize in the detached single family homes, as well as we're very comfortable working condominiums and really anywhere in the Americas. We've been doing work.
Very nice.
And international.
Well, yes, international.
Well, I think this is going to be a great discussion. Obviously, the last year has definitely posed a lot of challenges for just about every industry. And I thought we would start first, we're in our past, present, future. We're going to start with past. So just about over a year ago, at the earlier part of the pandemic, what strategies did you guys put into place to keep projects moving along, to keep client relations open and vendor communications during the shutdown where we had the stay-at-home orders? And did that teach you how to adapt and work differently going forward? David, do you want to take that first?
Sure. We were in a really wonderful spot because Jay had just mentioned international, as well as domestic within the Americas. We had set up a system several years ago where every single device is connected to a system that includes people's desktop. We have a program where if a computer goes down, your computer will be placed in 24 hours and it will be exactly the same. In addition to that, we have a backup on Amazon. We have a server here, and then we have one more backup in triplicate. Every single device, whether or not it's your phone, your iPad, your laptop, or your PC, is also backed up and connected. And then we made the transition to Zoom several years ago. I want to say like 2, because we really found it to be much easier to use. And we found Skype to be very cumbersome. And we also had just upgraded and added a new conference room that has special cameras that can track, zoom in. And we really felt that with that technology, when all this happened and working with vendors, we were already in a place to work easily. And the only real transition and change was having our team be able to work from home. And I think that was the question. We've always had a level of working from home, but it certainly wasn't 40 hours a week. And I think that was our experiment and our challenge. And we are very comfortable. Most of our clients are international, so we didn't always meet with them. So that wasn't unusual in that way. It was really more of our internal team structure. And that was the experiment. I think, Jay, I think it went well.
Right. It was rather, for us, it was familiar to jump into this. And it was a little hard for, particularly me. It's like I like to be surrounded by, our team. You need something because I am involved in pretty much, and David, in every project, but that we have our team members that are involved in certain projects and not others. So my head or David's head, since we're working on everything, it's easier to go out from our office space and go into, and talk to the rest of our team, and we don't have it there. So thank God for Slack. So Slack is a great software for us. I mean, we use it a lot, and it's a great tool. So it feels like they're next to us. I mean, up to this point, our team, they don't come to the studio. They take turns. One of them comes every day, but it's not something the entire group is not here. But through Slack, I feel like we're connected.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys had a lot in place beforehand that were great platforms for working with your
Right.
international clientele, and that kept you really prepared. And of course, Slack and Zoom, really great platforms as well. Jennifer, how did you feel that making sort of the transition when we had the stay-at-home orders, what did you have to change from your business model?
So, just as we mentioned before, having those tools in place really helped us because we worked with WebEx. So before the pandemic, I was already doing virtual consultations, meetings. So it almost seemed like that's the way of the future. So when everything happened in the beginning of last year, we were already in a place where, to be quite honest, it really didn't affect us too much. For some of the renovation projects we were working on, we had a little bit of a challenge getting windows and doors, for example. But a lot of the bulk of the materials were already ordered and at our contractor facility. So we believe in not starting a renovation project until you have all of your materials. So I sort of feel like our process and the way that we do things before this really helped us and move us along. It really made me step back from, a business owner perspective and to see how I can get my team through this. I have a small team, which was, again, I'm very fortunate that we're all local here in Florida. Most of our projects are here as well. So us sort of working from home or in smaller groups, it really, again, it didn't change too much for us. If anything, I feel like it kind of made us closer.
I think sometimes definitely the virtual communication had a way of doing that in one way or another, because we could suddenly reach people we couldn't always see in person all the time. For me, some of my projects that were out of state, I worked in New York a lot. When that happened, just again, I was so used to being able to fly up there, but the virtual communication really kept things going with clients and stuff. So sounds like everyone sort of had a really great system in place. So it's great to hear that and learn a little from everyone. So I think the next thing would be about the marketing and advertising over the last year. I think a lot of the times we have certain types of marketing plans in place and how we want to market our business as design professionals. Of course, with social media and everything else out there as well. How did you guys find that did you change your marketing from, earlier part of last year to present? Like, how has that changed? David, do you want to speak to that?
I would, but I'm gonna let Jay go in because this is
Okay,
his
great.
baby.
Social media, that would be the number one. I would say it's it's the number one for us way to approach potential new clients. A great way to approach vendors. We meet vendors on a regular basis that have products that we've never heard from them. I mean, we're talking about globally, right?
Right.
So the concentration of products that comes to our way, it's rather easy rather than because we can't go to shows anymore. So it's staying local. I think that's one of the greatest tools. So for us, the way that we approach marketing now is, or what we've done is clean up our entire portfolio and focus on what we are best at and what it is the market that we want to be, the sector market that we want to be catered to. So with that said, I mean, there are certain things that we did internally with our marketing team. Margaret has a big role within the company that and involved with a web developer and stuff. So it was that approach, because everyone, since they can't go anywhere, they're home and they're pretty much either in their phones, tablets, or researching for how can they improve certain things. And I would say digital was one of the biggest things for us, and still is. And for anyone listening out there, it's just providing the right content.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I agree with Jay. With the idea of Instagram being so critical is the way you can communicate, and the algorithms that Instagram has also applied allows us to find vendors, and so we're constantly learning and being inspired by it. Obviously, your website takes time to work with your webmaster and to pick the pictures, load them up. While Instagram is literally instant. So through stories, people can see the culture of our office, us having a lunch and learn or a birthday party. It can also see our portfolio of work. So it allows us to quickly show diversity within who we are as a company, not just what we produce. And I don't want to throw anybody on the bus, but we found that we're moving away from Facebook. It just doesn't work for us at all, even though they're owned by the same company. Facebook is really kind of a dinosaur already within how we function. And we've also seen ourselves shift away from House. That House seemed to become too focused on selling items and making demands that we felt were unprofessional upon us as an interior design firm. And so we really felt that those two things had us shift away from them. And so that I think that's made a huge difference. It's just speed of being able to deliver something interesting and showing a Halloween party, something that's fun, that has nothing to do with design, but it gets you excited about who we are as a practice.
No, absolutely. And I find me personally, I also love to use Instagram because it is so instant. So the stories have a more casual approach and it doesn't have to be as refined. And I think now we've got Reels and they've come up with things that have continuously added and giving us more and more ways to reach our community, our potential clients, vendors, just about everything. Jennifer, what social media platforms have you focused more on during this time? Which ones do you like to use?
So definitely Instagram. That I think is our leading social media platform, but also sort of sprucing up my LinkedIn profile. I found that that's another way that I'm connecting with not necessarily potential clients, but with vendors and other people in our industry that maybe we can partner together. So I've had a number of local cabinet shops reach out to me or textile vendors. So sort of looking at the LinkedIn from more of a vendor approach or possible collaboration. And then actually, I'm a new business. I'm under 5 years. So we're growing quickly. And I have found actually that House for me has been a great source of leads and connecting with local clients here in Jupiter. So I just started using their platform a few months ago, and I've already connected with some really great clients. Of course, you have to sort of weed out some of the projects that might not be a good fit with some that are a good fit. But we actually take the time to talk to every client that reaches out to us, whether it's on the phone or through House, because I personally believe you never know where that next client is coming from. Maybe they're not a good fit, but their neighbor is. And they may tell their neighbor, oh, well, I had a great conversation with Jennifer. It wasn't a fit for us, but maybe it's a fit for you. So that's sort of my business approach. And then also, kind of going back to the beginning of last year, when maybe we had a little bit of a downtime in the spring, early summer, I really reached out to local contractors. So because we weren't going out and, kind of that hustle and bustle day to day, I really had time to spend on my computer, drafting emails, calling potential contractors to work with or for them to refer me. So I really sort of changed my approach a little bit, and the pandemic gave me a little bit more time to focus on that. So it's it's a little different now, because now I feel like things are getting back to normal and we're all kind of running around, but kind of still, I'm still taking that time to do business development. So I don't have someone on my team that is going out actively looking for new partnerships with contractors and builders. That is me. So I'm wearing many hats in in our firm, but I feel, I feel like I'm the face and I'm meeting with the clients, and that's just the way that I choose to run my business.
That's a great point, Jennifer. I'm the same. I do also wear many hats, and I think there's a fit for every business model. And it's really about finding what works for you. Like social media is such a specific thing, because I think you find different things that, like you were saying, there's platforms you like to use, there's platforms you guys like to use. And for me personally, the same. I find during the time of the last year, I definitely though embraced way more Instagram lives, Facebook lives, all of those things. Because the only times I'd ever done them were when it was with either a company or a brand or something that was very much set up, and I was just kind of stepping in, doing my part, and I wasn't handling all the others. So this was the first time I was like doing it all on my own. And I felt like I learned a lot on how to kind of facilitate that for me and what worked. Did you guys do a lot more like live things? And did you find that that was something that you learned a lot from doing in time?
Personally, I didn't do a lot of Facebook or Instagram live sessions. I have been a part of a few different, companies kind of asked me to, very similar to this, to be a part of their discussion and kind of talk how I'm leading my business through the time that we're in. But also, we take the approach of just have fun with social media. So we don't analyze it or think about it too much. So, I may do a story about my dog one day. But again, clients have told me like, oh my gosh, your dog's so cute. So I meet them for the first time and they're like, oh, how's Zoe? Like, it's just
A personal connection.
Exactly. Yeah. Connecting on a different level. Of course, you can put up on Instagram beautiful pictures, but I feel like clients really want to know who you are as a person, and how you are, basically.
Absolutely. Jay or David, do you want to speak a little to that too, and kind of any other things that you've shared that may have been different maybe a year ago that you might not have?
Well, yes. Unlike Jennifer, we do have someone, which is Margaret, but here and there, she's always feeding off the information that we give them. So she's always asking us to take photos of, projects that we do site visits, and, so we can show the progress and why not. So that is, she's pretty active at putting stuff in, although somewhat working along with her, anything that has to do with marketing is something that it kind of, for me, it's just it's not that I enjoy it, but it's just I do have a sense of what it is. Just want to make sure that the image that is put out there about Britto Charette is rather accurate, and not that she wouldn't. It's just like my background, and as a designer and principal, I tend to know more of what we want, and but she does an amazing job with it. Here and there, we post also photos of our babies, Midas and Kylo. They're just goofballs. They're so silly. I mean, the things that they do, and it was great to have them here. I mean, our clients come and you see a boxer which is like 60 pounds, they want to get in clients' laps. You're like, what do I do? But yeah, it's a nice way to break the ice, and when clients sometimes are tense, it's nice to have that pure energy when it comes to this little angels.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that we're trying to also bring in more drone shots. That's something we bought a relatively inexpensive drone. Usually with detached single family homes, it's much easier than a high rise. And so that's fun. I mean, everybody seems to love those as well. And we're also doing a little more flashback stuff. Like we're going back to when we went to Paris. We can't go this year, but we're going to go back and talk about what we did like, and then what we saw digitally online. And we're doing a lot of, with Margaret, we're doing a lot of flashbacks, and then just kind of, going to what Jay was saying, and Jennifer, we're going back to just, our team, like having a chilly afternoon, meeting, and it doesn't say anything necessarily about us whatsoever, other than the fact that we're human beings and we like to have fun. And I think that's an important part, to humanize what we do, because it can become, this is very hectic, and emails are not always the best way of communicating. So this really makes it more personal.
Absolutely. I think it's so important to share certain aspects of that personal feel of the business, of the brand, of the principles, because it allows prospective clients, brands, people to really get a sense for you and your style and what you're about. And I think that's always a great thing. So let's switch gears a little bit and talk about, you'd mentioned, David, about Paris, and so travel and trade shows and all sorts of things like that. Obviously, over the last year, we've seen a lot of things like, I mean, they couldn't happen in person, and then things shifted to hybrid, virtual, some in-person models, and so forth. How are you guys sort of navigating being able to get information on new products, new materials, things like that? A lot of companies are doing such a great job virtually at getting things out there. What are some of your favorite ways that you've been able to upkeep on that?
Well, I'm gonna let Jay handle this because.
Well,
yeah.
yes, real quick, it is great, and I love the effort that is been put into this. For example, my son Jay just had, the virtual show this year, where we're able to see a lot of great things. But when it comes to things that require the kind of like a sofa, for example, requires for you to sit down and feel the comfort level, and some products that you need to see the finishes and whether they're up to par. Because a lot of the things, I mean, what we do when we go to shows, the reason why we go to shows is just to see and feel and touch and a lot of these things. Because when we get back to our studio, I hardly ever leave the studio. So I come from home, I stay here, I work all day, and then I go home. I try not to get distracted and go shopping to the showrooms, but we do give orders to all our trades. It's just that for me, it's difficult. My time is more valuable in the studio. So for that, I go to all the shows anywhere. It doesn't matter what part of the world. Just make sure that we get to feel this product. So there's a lot of new upholstery coming out of Paris, for example, right? So there's a lot of Parisian designers that are coming left and right with amazing products, and some Italians Italians have always been leading the market, but the French lately have been pretty amazing. So those are the things that you either go to the showrooms or Studio 27 Avenue Road or Holy Hunt. So those are showrooms that are open, but there are a lot. They're not part of the show that you see unless you go to Paris Design Week or you go to Milan. So it's been hard in that sense, but I do give them an A for effort for putting out there. A lot of the products, when it comes to accessories, they're great because you could just buy that from looking at and knowing the dimensions and specifications. But when it comes to upholstery and things that it's going to give you a comfort level, I feel really, it's difficult for me to tell the client, yes, you should buy this, because I've never sat on it. So I'm not going to make you buy something. I'm going to make you pay $30,000 for a sofa when I don't even know the comfort level. So that is the part that for me, I was talking to David about this the other day. It makes, we need this. We need to go back.
I know, and we all miss trade shows and of course in-person gatherings. Jennifer, how have you been kind of keeping up to date with new products and things, and just sort of seeing what's out there and what will be new?
So I actually did attend High Point Market last fall. So I made the trip. I should say I made the drive. So I drove the 9 hours or whatever it was. But it was still a really great experience. I will say the market last fall definitely was a lot different from prior year. But I felt like the vendors were a little bit more focused on you. So they really spent the time with me, because you had to have a scheduled appointment to be there, and you had only a certain amount of time with your sales rep to walk you around. So they were trying to limit how many people were in each showroom. So I did still attend the market, and I plan on going this summer also. So for me, I mean, it definitely is a touch and feel. In Jupiter here, I actually am in the process of opening a design studio, which is our work studio, but also a place where clients can come and sit on a few pieces of furniture. So we are a stocking dealer for Vanguard furniture. So that's sort of what we're highlighting here. But we try to show them different cushions, because that's one question we get a lot is, well, it looks beautiful, but what if it's not comfortable? So my whole plan, last year, I really kind of formalized this idea to open this studio, found the perfect spot, and so far, it's almost complete. But the success that we've had so far has been great, and clients really appreciate coming here, sitting in the cushions, testing out the different types, and also seeing all the fabrics and wood finishes that I have here. So that's sort of how I've adapted a little bit. And it's been working for me so far. It was a little challenging because I'm used to going to KBIS and, the tile coverings, again, kind of being in more of that renovation world. That was a little disappointing because I do like to go and see the new faucets and appliances that are out there. But we're getting through it. Our reps are really great at our the showrooms that we work with, so we've been fortunate.
Well, that's good to hear, and congrats on the new studio and showroom space. For me personally, I miss trade shows as well, and I've tried my best, I think, to build my sample library during this time, just continue to bring more samples in, especially for me, decorative plumbing and hardware finishes. So if I wasn't able to run out to a showroom, getting all those specialty gold finishes, all the ones that are so hard to match, building that library was huge for me. And I did attend quite a few virtual trade shows as well, which was helpful because I think a lot of brands really did a good job in showcasing what they have, and the reps, of course, really reaching out and getting new samples and stuff. So glad to hear you've all been utilizing different ways to do that. So let's talk a little bit about lead times. I think that's been in every industry. Lead times, has been something we're all dealing with. No matter what industry, we're affected in some way. And I think some differently than others, depending on the type of product, where it's produced, how long it takes to produce. How are you guys dealing with certain things that have longer lead times? Are you, are you finding it's just a small percentage of stuff? Is it, working around it? If anyone wants to speak to that, jump on in.
It's mostly everything. But last year, I feel like we felt the pain last year because there was a lot of the unknown, and factories were closing down for months at a time. I know California went through that long period where there was no work and no factories open, shipping was a nightmare. I feel like this year though, we're able to, when we meet with a client, we set their expectation right from the very beginning, right before they even sign with us. So if they're expecting to have let's say their kitchen done by, April and it's February, well, that's not going to happen. So now I feel like it sort of gave us the confidence to say that's not realistic. And then also I feel like the clients are more educated because they've personally went through having things delayed or, hearing from their friends and family, oh, my appliances are taking 6 months. So I feel like clients are kind of coming to us early on, which is awesome. We couldn't be happier about that because then it really gives us the time to spend with them. So that's sort of how I structure that very first meeting with the client and set that expectation right away, because we don't want to get in a situation where we, promise something and we can't deliver on it. So if anything, this sort of has helped me talk more knowledgeably to clients about that. And really there's no steering from that. And if the items come in sooner, great. If they don't, we've kind of been planning for it.
Right. And I find that I think clients, everyone in the industry, in every industry, we all have a greater sense of understanding, I feel now more than ever. Whereas we're all in this together, right? So we're all experiencing lead times in one way or another. And I found that this was the first time where there was just so much understanding about that. This was the first year I felt like I didn't have holiday rush for installs because of course things weren't happening in person, large gatherings, entertaining and parties. So it was a different feel, but of course, a focus on the home. So our industry really going to the forefront. Jay or David, were you guys speak on lead times and then a little bit about that as well?
Yeah, I think I agree with Jennifer about managing expectations. That's a really important part and that communication. Something else we've done though is really been careful with our contracts, and we feel that great contracts make great projects, and like fences make really clean, delineated expectations. And that's really a lot of what we do. We're amazing at design, but the thing that sets you apart is managing expectations and also managing risk. And those are the things that we look at. And so our contracts are very clear. If we don't get CO, then the project will start at this time. If we don't get the product, then, so we, not only do we say it and reinforce that, but we also make sure our legal agreements make that very clear. And there are things that acts of God are beyond our control, clearly, hence the name. And so if there's a hurricane or a pandemic, there are things that limit our ability to impact the project and make sure the clients understand that. And we did see issues with different items. Obviously, we also then try to go quick ship. If we know that that's not possible, there's a lot of stuff that could be in storage in New Jersey or outside of LA, but LA maybe has a problem with staffing. And we are seeing wood prices. This isn't normally for Florida, but it does impact other projects that we have. That wood prices have increased 100% on some of our detached single family homes. That's dramatic increase in cost. And so we have to tell our clients, are we going to value engineer this, or are we going to rob Peter to pay Paul? But these are things also beyond our control. We can't deal with labor and we can't deal with supply. As much as we try, we can't make factories go online in Italy. So for kitchen cabinets. So I think that's the main thing is really the biggest shift that we've done is making sure our contracts are very clear about things that are beyond our control and managing their expectations.
Absolutely. That's some great advice. I think you all have it's all about the expectation. I think that makes for any project to be successful. And now let's sort of, I guess, jump into a little bit more of, I guess, the business itself on how it's evolved during this last year. Of course, I mentioned earlier, the home being the focus. We all spent so much more time at home, and obviously, I feel like in turn, people want to remodel, do more things. First, it was in the earlier part of the pandemic, more organizing, tidying up, all of that stuff. And then once people were able to get out, working on projects, renovation, furnishing, people buying new properties. Do you guys feel in terms of business, it seems busier now? And also with the influx of a lot of people from other states moving to South Florida being a popular destination, are you getting a lot of clientele that is moving here for the first time?
Right. Yeah, there's no doubt that it is busier now than ever. But the good thing about for us, we've been busy throughout. There was no time actually to relax or just take a week off or 2 weeks off. That would have been ideal. But we're happy that the only thing that affect us is the way to perform and get adapted to what was happening. But overall, we've been busy nonstop. I think if I were to count the amount of hours that I worked prior years to this year, I'm not taking the long week vacations that I would take twice a month. So I'm not doing that any longer. So meanwhile, I'm working. So those are things that you David is laughing. He didn't like that. But these are things that I feel like it's like you're producing a lot more, and the demand for the work that we do, it's quite high here in Miami. So there's a lot of work, and I believe everyone that I know is busy right now, and so it's great for all of us. So let's just make the best out of it. The only thing that going back to the previous question is that we're encountered is by mill workers. They're telling us that supplies are not being met, so it's harder now. They used to stock a lot of veneers that were available right away, and now, besides the pricing going higher, they cannot find products available that they can start the project. So they have to order. They lose another 2 weeks rather onto the millwork. So those are things that we have to just be clear, I guess, with the clients and just tell them, whatever it used to take us, 6 to 8 months for the project that was FF&E, now it's going to take us a month additional to it. So just keep that in mind, and please, we try to meet your expectations, but at the same token, we want to cover ourselves that, later on, you're not pointing at us and tell us you promised me something. So the clearer you are, I guess it's the better at the end. You don't lose. Yeah, absolutely. Because the last thing you want is the client. You don't want is the client not to believe in you.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. The other thing we're seeing obviously is the tax shift. New Jersey, New York, um, California
California.
have incredibly high taxes. And so now you're seeing many individuals shifting here, but there are very strict rules about having to prove that you are a resident of Florida. You can't just simply buy a 2-bedroom condo and expect the state and the Fed to believe that. So we're seeing this gigantic migration of everyone from celebrities, people who are also moving their companies. So that's been a major shift. And while our market sector is high in residential, we are hearing from everyone, it really is seeing an uptick, with the obvious exceptions of retail, which is struggling. But even commercial activity is also picking up, and I see the hospitality trying to react in certain ways. But we have an outdoor environment, which is different than Manhattan, as an example. So clearly you can have people eating outside and responding to COVID. I think also the other thing is, programmatically, we're looking at changes in the projects we're being asked to do, which is more like legacy estate homes, where people are saying, all right, well, I want to have my entire family around. And so now we're going to start doing compounds. We're doing rooms that have bunk beds. So instead of having one queen bed, now it has 4 twins. So we're seeing people looking at spaces differently because of COVID programmatically. And also with detached single family homes, we're seeing, having refrigerated areas that have a separate entry, so that food deliveries can occur, that food can be washed or processed before even going into the house. We're designing things almost like they're separate hotel suites within the bedrooms, so that if someone is sick, they can have their own kitchenette or a small refrigerator, so they can stay in that area. And there's a vestibule that separates them from the rest of the house. So we're seeing a shift in program, and I don't necessarily think that that's going to change, even if when we get a handle on COVID. I think that there could be simply another pandemic, another variation of the current one. So we're seeing that what people's needs programmatically are shifting, not dramatically, but definitely we are reacting to that with clients' needs.
Right. So David, so you think like designing almost to be prepared, changing and Jennifer, do you kind of feel that way too? Like, when things started with the pandemic, of course, people were looking to do more home offices, more home gyms, all of these things. Do you think, again, these types of things are stuff going forward we are going to continue doing for clients? You're currently doing that now, sort of multi-purpose type living spaces and rooms that could easily convert to a homeschooling area or whatever. Are you still doing things like this for clients?
Absolutely. And there's definitely been an uptick of that going on, and really doing major additions to homes. So what I find is that people are realizing that with the real estate market here, they're not necessarily going to move and find their dream home. They're deciding to stay in their existing home and make it their dream home. So that's what I've been seeing a lot, at least in the Jupiter area here. Also, a ton of people moving here from Chicago, New York, New Jersey, anywhere where it's cold. They want to be down here for a number of reasons, but also what I've heard from clients is, look, if this happens again, I don't want to be stuck in my condo in the city where I can't use any of my amenities. I'm basically stuck in my 2,300 square foot condo with nowhere to go, and it's freezing outside. So they're sort of realizing if they have a place down here, whether it's full-time or part-time, at least they have a place to go if something like that happens again. And that's what we've been dealing with a lot. And in this area here in Jupiter, it's very seasonal too. So I'm not sure, I don't think Miami is really like that, but in Jupiter, we have a lot of clients that right now we're so busy because everybody wants everything decided on before they leave in May. So in May, they're going to go back up to the Hamptons, to their condo in the city, wherever they're going to go, but they're not going to be here in Florida. So during the summertime is when we're doing all of our construction, so that it's all ready when they come back in the fall, for them to kind of unpack, and then they don't have to think about it again. So that's particularly, we're very busy right now. And that's what I'm seeing in my area. Everyone wants it done before selected before they leave, and then construction so that they don't have to be there when the contractors are there in and out. So it's a little bit of a safer way to do construction. Also, another trend that I'm seeing too is when a client is looking to do, let's say, one bathroom, but then they thought maybe next year I'll do the kitchen. Now they're just doing everything that they want to do at once so that they don't have to go through the construction again. So it's sort of kind of shifted how people are thinking about a project and not just doing one small piece. They're just going to go in and do it all.
Absolutely. That's a great point. I mean, I also have a lot of clients who are seasonal. So I've always been in that same boat in terms of the timeline. And I think it definitely, I mean, people who traveled a lot and took a lot of long trips and vacations, you know, were able to allocate, you know, different funds for home improvements. I think that's definitely a trend we saw a lot of over the last year, and just again, the home being a focus because we have spent so much time here and people wanting to make that a sanctuary and a place that, should we ever go through something like this again in the future too, you're equipped. You have a lot of the things that we maybe didn't plan for previously. So I guess one other thing I probably just want to touch on, we have so much exciting new development here in South Florida. Of course, like we mentioned earlier, a lot more people are moving to our area. What are you guys excited about most of, like, new things coming up, like in terms of future projects and whatnot?
Well, Miami has a lot going on right now, and I moved to Miami about 22 years ago. So I've seen Miami grow, and it's definitely going in the right direction. What I'm excited is that this hasn't stopped in a way that the luxury market, it's well received and well appreciated here in Miami. And I'm excited to see a lot of those condos coming up. It's just amazing inventory. I mean, more than anything, I mean, for us, besides having work, I mean, we're blessed that we're pretty much in most of this high-end towers or projects that we're working on. But it's just also seeing the skyline of Miami being redefined, and it's such a beautiful feeling. And to see, you know, because I feel, you know, this is my city, and I feel like, you know, part of it, and also contributed to the growth of it, and it makes me happy.
Absolutely. You've contributed to many of the beautiful spaces that are in this city as well.
Yeah.
And David, anything for you on that you want to add?
Well, yes, I was on the Wynwood board, and I'm still in the bid. I see there's really a desperate need for a master plan for Miami-Dade County, and that the state, the county, and the federal government need to work together. We're facing long-term issues related to water supply, then sea level rise. Obviously, you could see from the last hurricane what happened to Carbonell Island and Brickell. And so these things need to be identified: public transportation, the greening of Miami. You can't see the intercoastal and the ocean as being a park, because if you're not wealthy enough to have a boat, then you can't really use it. I mean, the beaches are free. So we need to have more parks. And so while I'm excited about Miami, it's a relatively a young city if you look at the history of it compared to the rest of the nation. And it was seen as a seasonal town. Clearly that's changed with the Adrian Arts Center and the New World Symphony, that we're seeing major medical institutions and higher education. So that there's a shift happening, but there's an opportunity that hasn't been met. And to me, it seems like a developer driven city and not a city that's being led by citizens who are wanting to have a better quality of life. And I think the intercoastal should have a continuous pedestrian area where you can rollerblade, walk your dog, be on a bike, and we should be outside. If you look at places like Seattle and Portland, how many opportunities there are to do something outside, and we don't have enough. Even you can't consider the beach as the solution. While it's wonderful, it is not something that everybody can easily afford to get to. So I'd like to see that happen. We are attracting some of the best architects in the world, and that's very exciting. And sadly, Zaha Hadid is no longer here, but her practice continues. And so I like Jay was saying, that this is very exciting. We're attracting incredible talent, but it's specific to lots, specific to sites, and we need to expand that. And because of this wealth, because of all these people moving here, we should be using these tax base to make a better city, to provide a better quality of life and be able to attract major corporations like an Amazon campus, because when they come here, they may be like, well, how do people get around? What is the quality of public transportation? And, could we ever attract, not that I'm necessarily saying this is a good thing because it practically bankrupted Montreal, but, could we have the Olympics here? Those are the kind of things that, this city is incredible. It has a lot of potential, but we have a lot yet to do.
So you're thinking long-term continued growth, lots more to go.
Yeah.
And then Jennifer, for you up in Jupiter, you have more of the Palm Beach County perspective. What exciting new things happening there? A lot of new builds, a lot of developments as well.
So there's a new development here going in Jupiter, on Jupiter Island, a condo building called Sea Glass. And also in West Palm Beach, there's a lot of buildings. So downtown West Palm Beach is being really sort of revamped. There's a ton of new hotels there, restaurants. When I first moved to Florida, I lived in West Palm, and that's only a few years ago, and it's nothing like it was a couple of years ago. It's like a completely different downtown, which is great. And what I'm seeing here, we're actually working on 2 spec homes. So we're working with a builder right on Flagler Drive. We've got a spec home, and then right around the corner. So that little area of South Flagler Drive is being built up, which is exciting. It's exciting to see spec homes again. And I know there was a couple spec homes in Palm Beach Island that went for some record numbers. So it just goes to show that people they're moving here, and they're not afraid to spend money on what they really want, which is great. And the builders are realizing that. So they've got this property they're sitting on. So they're like, okay, now's the time to develop it. Let's do it the right way with a designer. And it's just really exciting for me.
No, that's great. I'm in Broward County. I'm in downtown Fort Lauderdale. So we kind of covered a large part of the major metro areas of Southern Florida. And here, same thing. Like I've been downtown for 15 years, but I mean, back 20 years ago, there was only a handful of residential buildings in this specific area, and it's just exploding. There's so many, and it's pushing out, further and further down. So it's exciting to see. Of course, in our industry, we love to see, more opportunities for projects and things like that. So I think this was a really great conversation, and I thank you guys for just offering such great insight and sharing about your business and your experiences over the past year, and just in general, some really great advice. And if we have any questions, if you guys want to drop them in the little chat box, we could go for a few. We did have about 2 here that I'll bring up to our group, but if any of you guys have some, we'll do a few more minutes of Q&A if there are any. And the first question that I see here, would seeing new products on Saturdays Saturday hours be appropriate for viewing new products and stuff? I guess it's a question like for reps or whatnot. For you guys being right now, are you doing appointments on Saturdays, or is that something that's part of your current scheduling or not?
Only if you're really, really rich.
No, we don't. We're closed on Saturdays, but the things we still tell our reps, you can come and leave everything organized in an area that because since we're not together every day, so maybe Monday is one team member, Tuesday is another team member, so they'll be able to see that what's new. But the good thing is also whoever is going to present or any products to do a little bit of background check on us of what it is that we specify, rather than bring in stuff that we would probably not, and it would be a waste of time. So that's one of the things that we suggest, like, before bringing your products to any design firm, just go through their portfolio and see what are the main focus, so you can target directly, and you would have a better response. But no, Saturdays, no, unless it's something that it's a must and it has to happen. It would, but I'd rather be somewhere else on Saturday, enjoying my day and connecting with friends and family and stuff, right? Yeah.
And Jennifer, do you have any input on that as well?
So as far as reps go, usually Monday through Friday is best for that, just because I have the whole team here. Now, I personally do take, I take usually 1 client appointment on a Saturday, or a new consultation to meet with someone, just because it's a little bit more relaxed. They've got a little bit more time, because during the week it's pretty, packed schedule. So, and also I find, even though people are working from home, they're working. So, kind of popping in at 1 o'clock in the afternoon really isn't an option, because they're also on WebEx calls or trainings and whatnot. So I do offer Saturdays. And mainly I choose to do that because for me, it's a little bit more time for me to spend with the client and really understand what they're looking for. Or even if I have someone come into the studio and they just want to look at some other options, or, it's just a little bit more casual, and it's not so stressful.
Absolutely. And again, it is all specific. I also sometimes have to fit that in. And sometimes it gives me more time just based on scheduling and things that I have going on in the week. And of course, specific to the project or client. But typically, with vendors or reps, usually Monday through Friday, that is for me.
Absolutely.
Okay, we have a couple more questions. One is, okay, do you guys spec the art for your high-end projects, and how are you sourcing the fine art? Are there specific galleries or anything you work with, or are your clients sometimes coming to you with pieces in their collection to work around?
It depends on if this, they're asking for a blue chip stock piece where they actually want to make money on it. A lot of our clients already have pretty major art collections, and it's really about editing the collection down because they want to put everything on the walls, and that just simply isn't going to work. Or the pieces need to be reframed or restored. And then obviously we do have artists that we want to work with, but that's such a personal thing. And art is often about your own personal story about traveling internationally, or a wedding, or a family heirloom. So we are tasked with making some things work that we wouldn't necessarily want to use. So we do have our consultants too, that, will travel the globe looking for pieces. So, but in general, I would say nothing ever ends up like it starts out, just because what we really wanted to have there and what the triptych that's going to go in is completely different.
Art being so subjective, it could happen like that. Jennifer, do you have anything to add on that?
No, I completely agree with that. Also, if I do feel like art is very personal. Now, if a client does need some help, guidance, I will offer my opinion and bring in an art consultant and whatnot. But, I've never really had anyone that wanted me to pick that scale of art, just basic framed photos to go here, beach scenes or whatever. Fine, we can do that to complete the look of the room. But yes, no, definitely fine art it's more personal.
Absolutely, great points there. Now, I figured we can close with this question because this is a great one, and we all like to dream. So given the amount of luxury buildings popping up, what are the dream properties you'd like to design? Who would like to take that first? Jay?
I think, yes. Well, I think we're working on a couple of those right now, which I'm in heaven. And this is, again, I want to take a little time to thank the universe, God, spirit power, whatever it is, in our efforts, our commitment to that David and I and our team that we put out there. It's pretty much what we get in. Once I talked about my background, my upbringing, and where I come from, and so is David from and to where we are right now in the industry and the type of projects that we're working on. It's really touchy. We feel really, really grateful that those projects, you're going to see them in our social media or in our website. We're posting things constantly, but there's some amazing projects that we're working on. Overall, I think we're there where we wanted to be, but it's pretty awesome. Yeah.
That's great to hear. Look forward to seeing some of the new things and hopefully touring them. Sounds great. Jennifer, do you want to share anything on that?
Something that I've always would love to design is just like a beachfront house, like a beach cottage. that's sort of my dream, my personal dream property is to have something on the ocean where you just walk right out your backyard and you're on the sand. So that's for me at this point in time would be one of my dream properties.
That's wonderful. And David, do you want to share any more? I know you and Jay working together on a lot of stuff. Anything you want to add to that?
Well, I'm constantly sketching. You know, I have a bachelor's and master's in architecture. So my hobby is to come up with hypothetical houses. And I've always wanted to do this beautiful boomerang shaped house that straddles like a ravine that has this, you know, kind of Nehemiah-esque quality to it, and has an infinity pool that, you know, drops over the edge. And I'm thinking like the cartoon, The Incredibles, kind of either one of the, you know, the houses that they had, hyper, you know, modern, but at the same time, something that's real is, you know, that's obviously it's a dream to build a house. So yeah, I think that's everybody's fundamental ambition, you know, is to do something spectacular and, you know, and fun and reflects
What about you, Alena?
Yeah.
Oh, for me too. It's also, I'm moving into a new condo. So aside from like my design projects right now, I've been in the same space for 15 years. So this is like more space, more rooms. So that's kind of been my very immediate dream, was just to kind of get that together for myself. Because I think sometimes as design professionals, we don't always have time. And this last year, sometimes we've all, obviously everyone here has been busy. But sometimes we don't always have the time for ourselves. So when you can carve out a little time to kind of bring your own design ideas to life, that's also sometimes fun as well. So that's sort of what I'm working on right now.
That sounds great. You know, that's the thing that's so much fun is that we're able to do things that we started out loving as a kid, and then, you know, pushed ourselves to go through college, and now it's there's so much about professional practice that's not about designing, and you really have to push all those things away so that you give yourself an opportunity to be creative, which may sound weird, but that's the challenge, and carve out that both for yourself and then for your clients, you know. So it's such a good, but obviously, you know, moving into your own place is so much fun because you get to be like, play like it's like a little nest, and you know, maybe at 11 o'clock at night, you're going to move an accessory over just because, why not?
Right. And it also becomes like an additional client, and one that's like that. It's like the after hours design job. So it's like regular work during the week. And then after all the work is done, you're still working on it, but it's different because it's a space that you'll be living in. So I enjoy that aspect of it as well. And jumping into creativity. You guys, this was really awesome. Thank you. Thank you to everyone who attended. Thank you to DCOTA for putting together such a great panel and for hosting this winter market event and conversation. Thank you to Jessica in marketing as well. And thank you all, Jay, David, Jennifer. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
You guys all have a wonderful day. Thanks to everyone for joining us.